We want to be able to present the patient with alternatives. And one of the central ideas in ethics is informed consent.
The components of informed consent are letting the person know, first of all, what the diagnosis is and what it's based on so that they can say, this is why we need to treat you. And secondly, what the treatment is.
Every patient in the healthcare system has a right to informed consent. That is, they have a right to be told the risks and benefits of the treatment, the risks and benefits of alternative treatments, and the risks and benefits of no treatment at all.
Patients should be totally informed, fully informed about every medication that the psychiatrist offers to them to take or says they should take.
A tanulmányok megerősítik, hogy a pszichiátriai szerekről nagyon kevés részletes és pontos információ jut el az emberekhez. Miből állna tehát a pszichiátriai szerekkel kapcsolatos pontos tájékoztatás? A következő orvosoknak és szakértőknek kiterjedt tapasztalata van ezen a téren. 1. A pszichiátriai zavarok nem valódi betegségek, amelyek orvosi kezelést igényelnének.
It's true that there's no biological findings that really support any of these psychiatric diagnoses being medical illnesses. And the burden of proof really is the other way around. It's not that you have to prove that there is no biological science. The burden is on psychiatry to prove that there is.
There's no blood test. There's no lab test. There's no x-ray. These are just clusters of behavior that a group of psychiatrists have voted that it's a disease.
Can you imagine doctors having to have powwows to decide if a heart attack is a real disease or not? No, they don't have to decide that. They don't have to have a vote on that.
They should be asking the doc, geez doc, where's the chemical test for that? Where is the objective test for this? And I guarantee you that they'll be told, we don't have a chemical test for that.
There is no such thing as a chemical imbalance. And any psychiatrist that you talk to, if you ask him this question, they'll all admit it in private, but they won't admit it in public. It's a scandal.
So this is all subjective. Nothing objective about psychiatry.
2. Nincs tudományos bizonyíték arra, hogy a tudatmódosító szerek bármilyen mentális problémát is megoldanának.
Since there is no measurement for these psychiatric diagnoses, because they're really just subjective, for the same reason there really can't be a measurement for the effects of the drug.
In terms of medication, the evidence that's claimed is the medications are highly effective and not very toxic. But actually, in fact, the data in psychiatry are very clear that that's not true. What is true is that the medications are barely, if at all, more effective than placebo.
You're selling drugs to people under false premises, under a disease that's been invented. So how do you measure efficacy among a disease that doesn't even exist?
3. A tudatmódosítószerek elfedik a tüneteket, és súlyos, rövid és hosszú távú mellékhatásaik vannak.
Whatever problem you're being treated for, whether it's depression, real or otherwise, or cardiovascular disease, medicating away the symptoms is not solving the problem.
The patent medication gives the appearance of having helped because in the short term, it usually doesn't show the bad effects that are going to happen in the long term. So it's very deceptive.
The longer the patient's on the medication, the worse the prognosis is.
None of these medications hit precise targets. You begin accumulating all kinds of collateral damage. In other words, other organs in the body are actually harmed.
So for the first time, we're seeing kids in grade school or middle school who have type 2 diabetes and who have the beginning stages of cardiovascular disease.
So you see Parkinson's disease, you see tardive dyskinesias, you see other movement disorders.
Is it true that we're now seeing a lot of deaths from psychiatric drugs? Absolutely yes.
4. A tudatmódosítószerek függőséget okozhatnak.
One of the hallmarks of informed consent with psychiatric meds is you have to discuss the potential for addiction.
The vast majority of psychiatric drugs create psychological and physical dependency.
Most patients that I've seen that were on these drugs have difficulty getting off of them. It's rare for somebody to just be able to stop it without a problem.
5. A legtöbb mentális problémát egy mögöttesen meghúzódó testi betegség okozza.
Many physical conditions can cause mental problems or what pose as psychiatric symptoms, but the psychiatrist, in the records I've reviewed, psychiatrist does not do an in-depth study of what could be causing the problem.
And if the doctor isn't taking the time to find the cause of those symptoms, then unfortunately those symptoms may continue and there may be a serious underlying medical disorder that's being overlooked.
The question is it better to treat depression with a drug, or is it better to treat depression by trying to figure out what caused the depression and working it out with the patient?
Dehydration can make you exhibit symptoms of depression. Sleeplessness can make you exhibit symptoms of depression. Eating a terrible diet, hypoglycemia, being sedentary, all of these things are biological reasons for having symptoms of depression.
I have in my practice children who are misdiagnosed as having ADD, ADHD, who really have Lyme disease.
70% of all what are classified as mental illnesses actually have a physical cause, a physical problem causing that.
6. Függetlenül az érzelmi vagy lelki gyötrelem súlyosságától rengeteg olyan hatékony lehetőség létezik, amely nem igényli tudatmódosítószerek alkalmazását.
Once you've proven that there is no problem in the body and that there is no malfunction in the brain, then you have to begin to address these other levels of the self. And I think that's what psychiatry has completely stopped doing.
There are very few conditions that cannot be treated by other methods than the use of drugs.
Any forces that impinge on medicine that make us think that the drug approach is the only approach is undermining good patient care.
És mivel a legtöbb lehetőségről, ahol nem használnak gyógyszereket, ritkán világosítják fel a pácienseket, azok így szinte sosem tudnak valóban tájékozott beleegyezést adni.
When you get into informed consent, it's almost a responsibility of the patient to make an inquiry about the hazards of the drug and not rely on what the psychiatrist or physician tells them.
We can't go in and abdicate our responsibility as consumers simply because somebody has an MD after their name or someone is a psychiatrist and we think they know more than we do.
The best way to protect yourself is to educate yourself, is to ask questions not only of your doctor, but to do your own research.
Don't be ignorant, be informed. Get information from as many places as you can. That's how you'll be an intelligent, skeptical consumer, and that's how you will protect the safety of yourself, your children, and your entire family from this industry of death known as modern psychiatry.
Az elmúlt 50 évben a modern pszichiátriához hasonlóan a tudatmódosító gyógyszerezés is elterjedt a világ minden részén. De van mód arra, hogy leleplezzük ezeket az orvosi visszaéléseket. Úgy, hogy jelentünk minden panaszt és a pszichiátriai szerek káros hatásait az országos gyógyszerügyi hatóságoknak. Az Egyesült Államok Szövetségi Jelentési Programja a MedWatch.
MedWatch is a voluntary reporting system, a passive reporting system where doctors, patients, healthcare providers, pharmacists, anybody really can make a report saying that they think that what they experienced or what their patient experienced was an adverse drug effect.
And this is what we call post-marketing surveillance. And this begins to get a look at what the side effects of long-term or chronic use of these drugs really is.
The FDA admits that probably only 1% of all the adverse drug effects are actually reported by patients or physicians.
Csak is a szerek összes káros hatásának jelentése által fog a tudatmódosító szerek használatának minden szörnyűségére fény derülni. Ismeri a tényeket. Játssza le ezt a videót az orvosának, és ne hagyja, hogy ön, a barátai vagy szerettei váljanak a következő statisztikai adattá a tudatmódosító szerek használatának nagy üzletében. Ha további információkat szeretne a pszichiátriáról és a tudatmódosító gyógyszerezésről, vagy jelenteni szeretne egy pszichiátriai visszaélést, lépjen kapcsolatba az Állampolgári Bizottság az Emberi Jogokért szervezetével.